Welcome to Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere. I'm your host and fellow traveler, Herb Malsman. We're sitting in a McDonald's restaurant here in New York City. And what's the street we're on over here? Yeah, I think it's 29th Street and 6th Avenue.
Yeah.
Here we are. Just a little bit from Madison Square Garden. The Rangers won today, and they still may not make the playoffs anyway. Our recording date today is April 9th, 2011. Again, we're sitting in McDonald's, and the reason why I was sitting in McDonald's, a buddy of mine from, probably 2002.
It's because Mary's hungry.
Mary's hungry. The voice you just heard is Mary Dimino. She's a stand-up comic, and I'll go over her bio for a moment. I was sitting here, and she's got, first of all, Mary Dimino, hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And you're also, you just came off the, thank you, I love you too. You just came off stage at Stage Left.
Stage Left,
A
yes.
studio, and you're doing a routine, a stand-up routine, which really is stand-up comedy and stand-up drama in a way. There's a bit of stand-up drama going there too, because you're speaking of your life and the pains and what you went through as a heavier woman.
Right.
And so it really is stand-up drama in a way. You talk about your mom and your dad and your
well,
grandmother.
it's not stand-up at all, really. It's a play. It's
Okay.
a two-act play. I mean, it has its funny moments, and I know that I'm originally a stand-up, but this doesn't even have a single one of my jokes from stand-up in it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it is really a drama and comedy, and it's kind of physical there at points.
Yeah,
First talk about
I'm tired.
First talk about scared, skinny.
Scared,
is the name of it.
skinny.
First talk about that for a moment, and what is going on with the notes you've got on the table?
I'll talk about that. But all right, so Scared Skinny. The full title is Scared Skinny, a 100-pound lighter woman show. It's written and performed by me, and it is about growing up fat, funny, and afraid in an Italian family from Queens. And I like to see it. I think it's a cross between sort of like a Bronx tale, like a Chaz Palminteri's Bronx Tale, and a My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I play all 14 characters. My Italian grandmother from Italy, my mother, my father, my friends, Rose, the deadpan Rose, the crazy Dorothy, the boyfriends, the top 10 bad boyfriends, the top 10 bad diets, all of the above. And you're right, it's physical. So after about an hour and 15 minutes, I'm ready to either eat a 3-course meal or lay down and have a nap.
And, working out like that, because you're talking about your life, you lost 100 pounds, you were 265, and you
Yes.
lost about 100 pounds. But actually, it's physical enough, you probably lose a little weight on stage.
Do you think so? I hope so. I mean, because, when I'm in rehearsals the week of a production, I really don't have too much time to really hit the gym and work out hard. I mean, to lose the 100 pounds, I had to really work out. Look, this guy's looking at me.
Don't worry about it.
He's like, wow, she was 100 pounds bigger than that? Because, I mean, believe me, I'm no svelte little girl right now. I mean, I'm a size 12, 14, depending on the cut of the pants. But I was 100 pounds more than this. So my biggest weight was 265. I lost originally 120. I gained some back, but I never gained the whole 120 back. So I'm about like 170 now, and and it's fine. But this show is a journey that I take you on, starting from when I'm 8 years old, little chubby 8-year-old Mary. She always wanted to be skinny, and I asked the Ouija board if I ever will be skinny, and it gives me an answer, and then that projects me through the rest of my life. And then the play ends on, well, I shouldn't give out the end of the play, but it's a very nice ending.
Right. And you mentioned we're going to get into your notes in a moment. We got to go to notes in a moment. And then I'll share my notes with you. The Ouija board, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I had a girlfriend, Marilyn Lutz. And one night, Marilyn Lutz and I one night hanging out in her apartment, in her family's apartment, and we were on the Ouija board, and we asked this, which is a bad question. What's the worst question you can ask a Ouija board? Absolutely the worst.
In my opinion,
Yeah, when am I going to die? I mean, that's
no, it would scare me. Is that what you asked it?
I asked it, and it said
No.
98. And,
No.
yeah,
no.
And
Did it mean 1998 or 98 years
Oh,
old?
98 years old. And this was in...
Well, that's a beautiful thing.
That was great, but hers came up like 43.
No. Oh, no.
And with that, she says this Ouija board is stupid, and she packed it up and threw it in the top of her closet.
Right.
And as she was ripping the Ouija board, that thing is dope. It's a lie.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
thing fell out of the top of the closet, boom, and hit the bottom of the closet, and she freaked out. So Ouija board kind of, how does that happen? Explain your experience with the Ouija board.
I mean, Herb, I'm no expert on a Ouija board,
But it
I
seems
got
to be
tell
happening
you,
itself.
I got to tell you, I've heard some scary stories similar to that. I have a friend of a friend who put it away, I think similar in her closet, and then one day she heard, and it was, it was coming from, and her friend was in the room too, and they're like, what's that? And now she's like, I don't know, but my Ouija board's in the closet. So I've heard weird
Wow.
things.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who's a totally normal lawyer, he's very worldly, he's not very spiritual at all, but he told me a story that when he was a child, he played with the Ouija board in his basement, and he asked for the name of the thing that was moving it, and it gave the name. And then when they turned the lights back on, because they were mocking the name, the kids were like, your name is that. Then when they turned the lights back on, the kid had little tiny razor blade scratches all over his face. He had about 20 of them. They had to take him to the hospital. So things like that. I mean, I don't.
It's a little weird.
But thank God it said 98. I mean, did the woman did she live past 43?
I don't know.
Oh God.
I don't know.
But it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy too. I mean, because if you think you're going to die at that age, and then you approach that age, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
I don't recall exactly what year, but I know she had a beehive hairdo.
You should look her up and see.
I can't find her anywhere.
Really? Because I would say just call, and the moment she says hello, hang up.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was the bartender in Brooklyn at the Wander Inn, and she was a two-fisted drinker.
Wow.
And she was pretty. She would go pretty strong to the hoop. So I don't know. I hope she's okay. But she was a bit of a partier. I was kind of dull. I guess we didn't get along. Dull people are partiers. What? Now these notes that you have in your book, did you come up with these since we said we're going to meet, or talk about your notes and what's going on in that book?
These aren't really for this book.
Are these
you
all
told
purpose?
me. No. See, this is the deal. You told me we were going to meet, right? And you said, Mary, I'm going to interview for 45 minutes. And I was like, okay, what do you want me to talk about? And you were like, oh, we'll just shoot the breeze. So I was like, oh boy, I don't know if I can shoot the breeze for 45 minutes. So I looked back I did an interview for NBC's Today Show with Meredith Vieira back in 2007. And it was all about weight, because I was in a film called Fat, What No One Is Telling You. And I had to do a whole bunch of research on, because I was in that film. So I spent hours. So it was a 3-minute interview on NBC, and I spent 7 hours getting ready for it. So I figured, oh, all right, let me dig out those notes just in case the interview isn't going that well. Okay, but the interview is going great, so
Okay, so read some of that. Let's see what you had planned in case in case we were dulling out the dump.
But now we just might start dulling it out.
Oh, here we go.
It might
Let's give us
start
some notes.
sucking at this point
Go
now.
ahead.
So, all right.
This program has sucked on a lot of occasions, so you'd be right in good company.
Well, just to give you a background, PBS did a documentary that I starred in, and I helped write. It was called Fat, What No One Is Telling You. And I was one of the people in it, and then we also had experts and doctors. So from the research from that, what the experts learned is that, the subconscious brain is really wired to store fat as a precaution. So that's why if you diet, sometimes usually people gain more than what they lost back eventually. And 95% of the people who diet, gain their weight back. It's a very small amount that actually are able to keep it off for more than a decade. The decade is the success mark. And, the urge to produce and the urge to eat and stay, to keep yourself from starving are two primal things in the brain. And they just discovered, a few years ago, that there's two brains. There's the brain in our head that is the cerebral, it's like the brain that we know. And then we have something called the, quote, second brain. And the second brain is in the gut. And supposedly how we eat and a lot of what we do and sometimes how we feel, like when we're depressed or, when we have this like dark cloud, a lot of it is coming from the gut more than the brain. The gut is sending signals. The intestines, the large intestines, the small intestines, it sends signals to the brain. I mean, I'm not really explaining it as good as the doctor would have, but I figured, I don't know, I have the notes. But anyway, it sends signals to the brain, and it tells you, like, hey, you're depressed now. So, we don't know a lot of research yet about that second brain, but we're just starting to realize that it's very important. So basically, losing weight it's a lot more complicated. That was like the whole gist of the PBS documentary, is that it's a lot more complicated than calories in and calories out, and exercise, calories burned, calories in. It's not just that simple, because there's like 40,000 genomes in the human gene. In the human genome, there's like 30,000, and 400 of those, just 400, which is an amazing amount, are used just to regulate like body temperature and to regulate your weight and your hormones. So if even one of those 400, even a percentage of one of those ones, if something goes wrong with, that could lead to 100-pound weight gain. I mean, so it's a very, very subtle thing, and it's very different for everybody, which is why calories in and calories out is not just the general, there's some people that work out like crazy and they're still overweight. There's some people that eat a lot and they're not overweight, and there's some people that don't eat that much, or they try not to, and they can't take off the weight. So there's a lot of other complications like genetics and our physical, our environment. Like right now, we're in McDonald's, right?
Right.
And there's advertisements everywhere for that big chocolatey thing with the 2 straws and the big Mac, and look, like that guy, he's got like lettuce coming out of his mouth and dripping out of his.
Now you know why I want to come here for the interview.
Yeah. But see, these are all cues that are telling our mind, eat, eat, eat. So I may not be hungry right now, you may not be hungry, but these cues are subconsciously telling us to eat. And it's the same with the music. Like the music, they did a research, and this was also in the documentary, that sometimes we eat according to the music. So that's why when you go to a mall and there's bright lights and there's fast music, the bright lights make you eat more faster and eat more and faster, and the music, like you're eating with your fork to the plate to the music. So when you eat faster, of course, what does that mean? You eat more, because when you get to the point of what's the word? Satiety. That's usually about 10 minutes before you really get to that point. So your mind doesn't know you're satisfied.
Sated?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I was watching the meaning of sedated. I was watching. Yeah, some of it does. I had a friend in New York City, WMCA, the good guy's Jack Spector. He was a good guy. And we used to eat at Doris Chan's restaurant, Ocean Parkway, off Kings Highway. Probably twice a day we'd go over there. And there was plenty of MSG. It was before they realized MSG was not a good idea.
Yes.
And about 4 or 5 days into our binge, my jaw wouldn't work.
Really?
It became numb. This MSG numbed it.
Oh my God.
I'm just thinking about the MSG. Well, the reason why I wanted to come here, and another reason why I'm glad we came here, is you're from Macklewood, and here we are in the land of Big Mac. So I'll go back to Macklewood, then we'll go up from there.
Oh, that's sweet. The Mac Award is actually, yeah, that's true. I'm right near a sign that says Big Mac. How ironic. The Mac Award.
See why I wanted to come here?
Very smart. You have your reasons.
Thank you.
So Mac.
Burger King wouldn't have worked.
No, it wouldn't have. Maybe Burger Queen.
Burger Queen, there you go. So the Mac Award.
The Mac Award is, it stands for Manhattan Association of Clubs and Cabarets. And every year they pick the finest in cabaret and in comedy and in jazz and in live entertainment and singing and productions. So last year, 2011, I won 2010. I won the 2010 Outstanding the Mac Award for Outstanding Female Comic. And this year, 2011, Scared Skinny is up for a 2011 Mac Award for Outstanding Special Production. So it's very cool that we're sitting there, a Big Mac.
Okay, and by the time this runs, you'll have either won or lost. This is April 9th, 2011, or 2011, actually 2011.
Yeah, 2011.
Because it's 19, so it'll be 20.
How did you know it was May 9th, the awards ceremony?
I didn't.
Oh, it is. I think it's May 9th.
Oh,
That's
so
spooky.
it's a month from the recording date then.
It's a month. Yeah, I'll know in a month from now if I won. I'm going to go to the red carpet event in Times Square at BB King's.
Right.
And, hey, if they announce my name, great. If they don't, that's fine. I'm up against really wonderful people. I mean, there's a lot of good people in the category. So.
What happened to Thespian? I know what happened to your mom and your dad and your grandfather and grandma. It's interesting. It really affected me emotionally a bit when you talked about losing your mom and your grandmom and your father. Exactly how they were afraid they were going to pass away.
Yes.
I think you said your grandmother died on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Your mom from cancer and your dad from loneliness, and it really. So in a way, and we'll talk a moment about stand-up as opposed to what you do, but that was dramatic and very emotional for you. I could kind of sense that. And it was kind of emotional for me. Well, I lost my mom at 93, so she just kind of drifted off at 93. But that was pretty emotional. It was
Thank you.
heartfelt, and it really kind of caught me there. What happened to Thespian?
The listeners are going to be like, "What are they talking about?" Well,
my listeners have been saying what he's talking about for years now. So.
In Scared Skinny. I open up as a kid and I talk about how my mom was always afraid of everything. I mean, she was, because she had many miscarriages before me. So I was like, I was like practically, in a bubble. Like, oh my God, don't do that, don't do that. She never wanted to. So I was raised with that fear from my mother. And my mother always said, and this is in the play, that she never wanted to die from cancer. Cancer was, her biggest fear. And then my father would always say, well, if your mother passes, I don't want to live. I don't want to. And my grandmother, who was this old Italian lady from Italy, she'd be like, hey. And she'd always tell me, like, if I didn't go and visit her, she'd be like, hey, I don't want to die on my bathroom floor with no one to find me for days. So you better come visit me. So, ironically, in the play, that's in Act 1, where I do those characters and I talk about everyone's fear. And then what you're talking about in Act 2 is at the top of Act 2, I then say, a little time passes, and I say, well, Mom died, and she died of cancer, and Dad died, and he died from loneliness, and Grandma, ironically, died on her bathroom floor, which is totally true. It was like, for 40 years, she was telling everyone, I don't want to die on the bathroom floor. Like, but she'd say it joking in a way, but she made that into a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's when I had a little epiphany in my life, and I was like, oh my God, everybody got what they wanted. I mean, well, I shouldn't say not what they wanted, but what they were feared the most. It drew the energy of the fear was almost equivalent to the energy of a desire, and it brought that to them. And then I lost my whole family within 2 or 3.5 years of each other. My mother, then my grandmother, and then my father, and then we come to Thespian. My first little pet, he was a cat, and he was like, to me, he was like the best cat in the whole world. He died right after the last death. So I had absolutely no one at one point in my life. And that's where Act 2 starts. And you would think it would be kind of morbid starting there, but actually I feel like that was the new beginning. Like I think you saw after I talk about that death, how the energy picks up because it's a whole. I try not, even though there's very somber moments in here, I in no way make this about the seriousness of it. I take it all very lightly. I take it with a look of irony, and I try to learn from everything. So I give to the audience what I've learned, all the little epiphanies along the way. So
you think the cat may have died of loneliness?
In a
way.
My father died.
It almost happened in order.
Right? It did.
The mother went first, the grandmother second.
Yeah.
Over that, maybe the emotion of it all. and then your father dying alone, and then the cat. Animals can't do it. Certain people.
Right.
They become. There's that connection there.
Right. That's true. My father and the cat were inseparable. And after
it happened
my
in
father,
order. It all happened
did.
in order.
Yeah. And the cat sometimes would cry and cry and cry. Like if I'd be coming home from work, I would hear, as I was walking through the hallway and I got my keys out, I would hear the cat crying from the elevator. And my heart went out. I was like, oh my God, that's my cat, and he's crying. And after a few months of that, it's just like he just lost his will, and he got sick, and he passed on.
He died of loneliness.
Yeah.
He missed your dad. I'm cat sitting right now. I'm living in Brooklyn for the month. During April, it's so good to be home. The noises and the smells, and even the urine in the subway.
Urine.
And some kid stepped on my toe. I was getting the subway was packed.
Yeah.
And coming here, and a kid stepped on my toe, and I apologized for getting in his way. I asked him if his heel was okay. It was so good to be stepped on in the subway.
It's good to be stepped on.
It was so good to be stepped on in the subway. Oh, by the way, before we go on, again, you're listening to Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere. I'm your host and fellow traveler, Herb Malsman. We're with Mary Dimino, a stand-up comic, actor, a writer, director, producer, creator, just all kinds of things.
Well, I'm not the director, but yeah.
Well, you're kind of directing yourself and all that, I guess, in a way. But you'll be a director one day. You'll get
It's true. Yeah, I got a director.
Yeah. But actually,
That's
you do
great.
stand-up comedy classes, and you're actually giving direction. If you
That's
really
a good point. Yeah, I guess so. You can call me a director in that way when I teach my stand-up students. Yeah, we have to choreograph and direct and.
So you're a
Every
director.
little word. Stand-up is like haiku poetry. Every sentence, every syllable. You want to have the least amount of syllables and words in there before you get to that punchline.
Well, I met you. I met Mary. My daughter was went to take stand-up classes. And somehow I looked you up. It was before the internet. No, it was the internet. I looked you up.
Before the internet, God, it sounds like
that wasn't before
1902.
Oh, yeah, but it was actually
I can't
2000.
believe we were alive before the internet.
Right, it was actually 2002, maybe 2003.
When did the internet really start? When did everyone
98?
have the? But did everyone have?
No.
No, 98. It was still when it was like you'd have to dial up.
It can't get any more. It can't go any further now because I've got it. So I'm the last guy. And so my daughter Kimberly took stand-up classes at Stand Up New York, and she made her debut doing stand-up, and it was great. They say death is easy. Stand-up comedy's a bitch. Excuse the expression. Is that true?
Yeah. Death is easy. Unless you're dying on stage as a stand-up, then death is not easy.
Well, my daughter describes it as doing well 2 out of 3 times.
Oh, that's her ratio, 2 out of 3?
The third time didn't go well, but 2 out of 3. One was pretty good, one was very good, and the other one was kind of laid there. So.
Well, that's how you know when you're a professional. Like, a lot of people ask, they're like, when do I know, Mary? I've been doing it 3 years. I've been doing it 5 years. I've been doing it. I'm like, when you're a pro is when you're consistent. When you're going to get up there, and even if you're having a bad day, you're having a backache, an earache, you're not feeling good, you just had a fight with your husband, whatever it may be, you go up there and you deliver. And you deliver consistently, most of your shows. Then you know that you're a pro.
I want to talk about, I was mentioning thespian for a moment, and I'm cat sitting right now. The 2 folks, 2 friends of mine, her and her husband, they're in Florida, Melbourne, for 2 weeks.
Oh, Melbourne. I was just there in December doing...
Yeah, so
Skinny.
it worked out. It worked out great. I was coming into the city, do some pieces, and so that's where I'm staying. They have 3 cats there. One has diabetes. The other is missing his left hind leg, and I'm not sure what the third cat's problem is. They're all male. I was supposed to give it 2 shots a day, the diabetic.
Right.
And she says, don't worry about it. While he's eating, just kind of, you won't even feel it. But then they thought better of it, so they left him in a bed.
Okay.
But the one-legged cat, and it's kind of strange because
one-legged or 3-legged and missing one?
Missing one leg. Oh, that's
He's a one-legged?
three-legged.
No, he's 3-legged.
3-legged.
With one leg. Oh, I'm confused. It's like, who's on first?
If he had one leg first, well, that would be a little tough.
I was like,
has 3 legs. It's missing his left hind leg.
How does he walk with 3 legs?
He gets around.
Really?
His name is Gizmo, and maybe it has something to do with it. Gizmo. He gets around. He walks with a limp, but he runs very quick.
He walks slow, but he runs quick.
He walks with a limp, but he can move. This guy can move. I have to put him on the kitchen counter to eat, and then I have to lift him up, and he can drop down. He can get down himself.
So is it the front or the back paw
the
that's
back
missing?
Paw, the back, whole back leg. You know,
well, that's better than the
that's
front, right? Because then you could drop down from the tape. Okay.
And the other one, I don't know what the problem is, but I have to give a little medicine out of a little syringe in his food every other day. So I have no idea what's wrong with this cat.
Wow, you're doing a lot of work for these people. I hope they appreciate it.
And last night, for the first time, they had a little disagreement somewhere in the bedroom there as I was watching TV. And who's the bully? The guy, the three-legged cat was really putting it to the other cat.
Yeah, you know why? He's compensating.
I'm telling you,
missing a leg.
Ooh, I'll tell you, he was pretty tough. So, the one with 4 legs eats on the bed, but won't eat on the bed because I guess they're not there. So there's not that same thing, so it has to eat on the floor. So that's the one thing I've seen. They're eating well, so they're not missing them. We're getting along fine. But the one thing I've noticed about, and it's strange because we're talking about your dad and Thespian, the one thing I've noticed is the cat won't eat on the bed. It'll try, but it won't. And I think it's maybe because of the sense of the aroma or the feel, whatever it is, he preferred, because I'm laying in the bed.
Oh.
You know, so it's
your scent.
It's my scent.
Is this the first time how long are you going to be with these cats?
2 weeks, and then they're back next week, so then they'll take care of them from there. But it was interesting. I thought for sure it was the 3-legged cat that was in trouble, but it was the 4-legged cat that was having a tough time.
Isn't that the way? That's like a metaphor for life.
I guess it is.
It's the 4-legged cat that's the...
Compensating. Overcompensating. I understand you're from Stanton. You're living in Staten Island. Is that correct?
Yeah, I like the way you say that. Staten Island.
There it is, right there. Staten Island. It's in your... Meet the characters. Mary Dimino.
Staten Island.
Okay,
Staten
Staten Island.
I think that's a typo, which is ironic, because this is the PBS website.
There it is.
It actually says Staten Island.
Staten Island. Okay, so now we got the...
But that's what I talk like anyway, so...
There you go.
I am from Staten Island.
Staten Island. What is the difference between stand-up? What is the difference between stand-up and what you do? I mean...
you mean the difference between stand-up and theater?
I called it stand-up.
Right.
What would be the...
Stand-up there is a punchline every 5 to 10 seconds. So it's like it's a very short... like a joke consists of a setup and a punchline. And the setup is probably 3 sentences, 4 the max. And it's just the essential info that the audience is going to need to know to get the joke. And then comes the punchline. And the punchline usually has a punch word in it, and that's the word that everything turns on. It's the word that usually the comic hits vocally the hardest. And that's in the punchline. And the punchline and the punch word always come at the end of the joke, because that's when you want them to laugh. You don't want to step on your laugh by still talking after your punch word.
So the punch is the punch, and the line, and the punch and the line is the punch word.
The punch word in the punch line is the punch.
Is the punch.
Line. Now you got me confused. The punch word is in the punch line, which is at the end of the joke. So the audience laughs, ha 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 ha, and you don't say anything because you're done. Right. You know. So it's a very, very specific art form. And if you're not getting laughs after every, few seconds, or, if you go 30 seconds a minute, you got to get a laugh. Yeah. You're not telling a story when you do stand-up. And if you are, you got to have punches within that story. Now in theater has an arc. Like stand-up, I could do an hour, 45-minute set, half-hour set somewhere here in the city. And it doesn't need an arc. In fact, the more random it is, the better. Like, if you're talking about sandals one time, and then you're talking about McDonald's, and then you're talking about that guy's pants. I mean, the more random it is, the better. But it's the opposite for theater. Theater, you need an arc. So to put an hour-and-a-half show together for theater, you would need to have a beginning, a middle, and end. You would need to tell a story. The audience would need to care about the characters. it's easy to just have characters, but the audience has to want to see where they're going. They want to be rooting for you. So it's that arc that is very important. It's not about the jokes. It's about the storyline and about that's really good theater, is just having a good arc. And it's quite different than stand-up.
And the arc being the beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
Okay. Stand-up works best if you're doing your life. Is that correct? I mean,
yeah, stand-up works best if you're drunk. No, I'm kidding. I don't drink.
The
no.
audience or the...
A little of both. No, I don't. I never drink before a set because then you miss your timing. Yeah, it works best. What was your question?
The question is, when you, when my daughter was practicing to do her stand-up, she drew from life, family, her mom, and all that, and you kind of exaggerate, or you do a caricature. It's actually a verbal caricature of your life. You're taking your life,
right,
and you're
exaggerating.
You're exaggerating
your struggle.
It's a caricature.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's what you did. It was an hour and a half. You did about an hour and a half.
When tonight? Yeah. Scared Skinny's about an hour and 15.
And where you're performing, stage left, we'll say now it's 214 West 30th Street.
Yeah, 214 West 30th.
Give some information on that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so it's running now. The next few months, I'm there about once every couple of weeks. I'm there again next week. It's called Stage Left, 214 West 30th Street. And previously, Scared Skinny debuted August of 2010 in the New York International Fringe Festival, where it won Best Solo Show Award.
That's right.
Yeah, outstanding overall excellence for Outstanding Solo Show Award.
You like Led Zeppelin, or was that the football guy that liked Led Zeppelin? The guy that put you down on the open-up couch, the pull-out sofa.
Did you like that character,
that was
Nino?
Great.
Yeah,
Nino.
Nino. That was my first kiss.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I was with my first, whatever it was called, but I was 11 years old. Antoinette La Rosa, there you go.
Oh, Antoinette, you were 11? Wow,
11
you got
years
around
old.
early.
Well, she would invite me up. I was staying there during the summer.
Ooh,
my
she
sister
kissed
and I,
you?
Where she would have me come upstairs to the attic.
Wow.
She was 16, and we were just...
Wait, she was 16 and you were 11?
I was 11, yeah.
She was like a cougar.
I'm telling you, her parents would go to the carnival, and I went to the carnival. It was great.
Wow.
But it wasn't until I was 19 or 20, it was the next time, but I would practice kissing, and you were talking about practicing something. You know, explain about the practicing you went through all that.
Yeah, I'm laughing because you got to see what you're doing.
Welcome to Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere. I'm your host and fellow traveler, Herb Malsman. We're sitting in a McDonald's restaurant here in New York City. And what's the street we're on over here? Yeah, I think it's 29th Street and 6th Avenue.
Yeah.
Here we are. Just a little bit from Madison Square Garden. The Rangers won today, and they still may not make the playoffs anyway. Our recording date today is... April 9th, 2011. Again, we're sitting in McDonald's, and the reason why I was sitting in McDonald's, a buddy of mine from, probably 2002.
It's because Mary's hungry.
Mary's hungry. The voice you just heard is Mary Dimino. She's a stand-up comic, and I'll go over her bio for a moment. I was sitting here, and she's got, first of all, Mary Dimino, hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And you're also, you just came off the, thank you, I love you too. You just came off stage at Stage Left.
Stage Left,
a studio, and you're doing a routine, a stand-up routine, which really is stand-up comedy.
The week of a production, I really don't have too much time to really hit the gym and work out hard. I mean, to lose the 100 pounds, I had to really work out. Look, this guy's looking at me.
Don't worry about it.
He's like, wow, she was 100 pounds bigger than that? Because, I mean, believe me, I'm no svelte little girl right now. I mean, I'm a size 12, 14, depending on the cut of the pants. But I was 100 pounds more than this. So my biggest weight was 265. I lost originally 120. I gained some back, but I never gained the whole 120 back. So I'm about like 170 now, and and it's fine. But this show is a journey that I take you on, starting from when I'm 8 years old, little chubby 8-year-old Mary. She always wanted to be skinny, and I asked the Ouija board, if I ever will be skinny, and it gives me an answer, and then that projects me through the rest of my life, and then the play ends on, well, I shouldn't give out the end of the play, but it's a very nice end.
And stand-up drama, in a way. There's a bit of stand-up drama going there, too. Because you're speaking of your life and the pains and what you went through as a heavier woman.
Right.
And so it really is stand-up drama in a way. You talk about your mom and your dad and your
well,
grandmother.
it's not stand-up at all, really. It's a play. It's
Okay.
A 2-act play. I mean, it has its funny moments, and I know that I'm originally a stand-up, but this doesn't even have a single one of my jokes from stand-up in it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it is really a drama and comedy, and it's kind of physical there at points.
Yeah,
First talk about
I'm tired.
First talk about scared skinny.
Scared
Is the name of it.
skinny.
First talk about that for a moment, and what is going on with the notes you got on the table?
I'll talk about that later. But all right, so Scared Skinny, the full title is Scared Skinny, a 100-pound lighter woman show. It's written and performed by me, and it is about growing.
Right. And you mentioned we're going to get into your notes in a moment. We got to go to notes in a moment, and then I'll share my notes with you. The Ouija board? I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I had a girlfriend, Marilyn Lutz. And one night, Marilyn Lutz and I one night hanging out in her apartment, in her family's apartment. And we were on the Ouija board, and we asked this, which is a bad question. What's the worst question you can ask a Ouija board? Absolutely the worst.
In my opinion?
Yeah, when am I going to die? I mean, that's...
No, it would scare me. Is that what you asked it?
I asked it, and it said
No.
98. And,
No.
And
Did it mean 1998 or 98 years
Oh,
old?
98 years old. And this was in...
Oh, well, that's a beautiful thing.
That was great. But hers came up like 43.
No. Oh, no.
And with that, she says this Ouija board is stupid, and she packed it up and threw it in the top of her closet.
Right.
And as she was ripping the Ouija board, that thing is dope. It's a lie. The
Yeah.
thing fell out of the top of the closet, boom, and hit the bottom of the closet.
Up fat, funny, and afraid in an Italian family from Queens. And I like to see it. I think it's a cross between sort of like a Bronx tale, like a Chaz Palminteri's Bronx Tale, and a My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I play all 14 characters. My Italian grandmother from Italy, my mother, my father, my friends, Rose, the deadpan Rose, the crazy Dorothy, the boyfriends, the top 10 bad boyfriends, the top 10 bad diets, all of the above. And you're right, it's physical. So after about an hour and 15 minutes, I'm ready to either eat a 3-course meal or lay down and have a nap.
And, working out like that, because you're talking about your life, you lost 100 pounds, you were 265, and you
Yes.
lost about 100 pounds. But actually, it's physical enough, you probably lose a little weight on stage.
Do you think so? I hope so. I mean, because, when I'm in rehearsals,